morning. My name is Ken Wells. This is Realistic Approach to Combat. Thank you for joining me. Now this morning, I'd like to touch base on a couple of different things. The hinge technique from right to left lead. Also, how the hinge technique relates to the Gu-Tang technique, vertical and horizontal. Now, if I'm on my approach to enter on my opponent from right to right lead, and I shoot on my opponent, and let me back up a little bit. If I'm on my approach from right to right lead, as I go to shoot on my opponent, I notice that he's kind of got this wide hand stance. His hands tend to be a little wider. And I notice that my opponent's in left lead. Now this at this time will dictate that I should shoot the middle, of course. Now, as I split the hands and shoot up the middle, it could be that my opponent in left lead gives me this left crossing energy to my right-handed attack. At this point, we could use the hinge technique. Now, what is the hinge technique? As I shoot on my opponent, and I'm in right lead, and my opponent's in left lead, as I shoot on him, what's going to happen is his left hand is going to push my hand across as I'm trying to come into him. At that time, this hand, I am going to shoot underneath, withdrawing this hand and hinging his arm out. Hence the hinge technique. Now, how does this relate to the Gu-Tang technique, horizontal and vertical? Easy. What happens is, if I'm in right lead and my opponent's in the left lead, and I shoot on him, and he gives me that rear left barrier crossing, I can hinge by shooting underneath and withdrawing my arm, barring his left arm out, and hopefully getting an intermediate hit at the time. If you take a look at the Gu-Tang technique against the punch, horizontal and vertical, you'll notice it's roughly exactly the same motion. If I'm on my approach, and right as I go to shoot on my opponent, he decides he's going to punch at the same time. At this time is when my punching hand's coming up, his is coming towards me. I can wipe his punching hand to the side, coming up like this to guard myself, and we would call that horizontal Gu-Tang. Now, it could be the same way. I'm on my approach, right lead to left lead, I shoot. As I shoot, my opponent shoots at the same time. At this time, my punching hand is coming up and catches his punching hand, and at this time I wipe to the side. That would be considered horizontal Gu-Tang. Now, vertical Gu-Tang and horizontal Gu-Tang are great techniques. Why? Because they guard against attack. They allow you to come in on your opponent when he is attacking and keeps you safe at the same time. I definitely recommend that you train your horizontal and your vertical Gu-Tang techniques if you plan on coming in on your opponent. A lot of times when you're coming in on your opponent, this guy's just not going to stand there and let you beat him to death. He's going to try to protect himself. So if your horizontal and your vertical Gu-Tang are down pat, you should have no problem coming in on the punch. That's just one of several techniques we use to come in on the punch. I just wanted to relate to you how the hinge technique relates to the horizontal and vertical Gu-Tang technique. If you look, we hinge against the block. We Gu-Tang against the punch, horizontal and vertical. But if you take a look at the technique, They're exactly the same. Remember, when you hinge, if you're coming in right lead and your opponent's in left lead, as you shoot the middle and you get that barrier from the left hand, that is a good time to hinge. Hinge will benefit you because if you hinge, you bar your opponent's arm to his chest. Basically, if you don't bar his arm to his chest, he ends up flying off to the side. It allows you what we call a full beat to get a blow in. If you miss the opportunity to hit your opponent, poke his eyes out, grab his throat, at that point, you don't need to be fighting. Now, the Gu-Tang technique. It's the same way. As I'm in right lead and I'm approaching my opponent, he decides to strike at the same time. So, what do? I horizontal Gu-Tang or I vertical Gu-Tang. But the vertical Gu-Tang does look exactly like the hinge. Why? Because it is the hinge. Now, the reason why we call it two different terms is because they're used in two different places. I don't want to try to attempt to tell a student to Gu-Tang against the block. It doesn't make sense. Next thing you know, I'm going to have some kid out there acting like a fool. Keep this in mind. Hinge and Gu-Tang are the same technique and principle. They are applied in two different situations. Thank you very much for your time. This is Ken Wells. Have a great day.